alumina, A-L-U-M-I-N-A, alumina. And if you dry alumina out and you take it to your metal processing plant, you take it to your smelters, you process that dry alumina powder into liquid aluminum. The smelting process, smelters, aluminum smelters, big aluminum smelters, giant aluminum smelters. He started sleeping at his smelters. Sabotage in his smelters. Came to his smelters. Very brutal start, right? Sleeping in the smelters.
Well, like I always say, whoever smelt it. It started with a tweet. President Trump claimed President Obama had bugged him. Now, maybe he was wrong, although Mr. Obama has been strangely silent about this accusation. Could he be hiding something else besides his birth certificate? It's a joke. Anyway, critics mocked Trump, and friends hoped this whole thing would blow over. Then Devin Nunes says this.
I recently confirmed that on numerous occasions, the intelligence community incidentally collected information about U.S. citizens involved in the Trump transition.
Well, put me in a blonde wig and call me Sally. Really, I want you to do that. After the show. Maybe Trump wasn't totally wrong after all. Maybe he was just half wrong, which makes him half right, which among politicians makes him a genius. Which then upsets this guy.
I can say this. The chairman will need to decide whether he is the chairman of an independent investigation into conduct which includes allegations of potential coordination between the Trump campaign and the Russians, or he is going to act as a surrogate of the White House because he cannot do both.
Well, in case you don't know, that's Adam Schiff. I know you first thought it was Sheriff Woody from Toy Story. He gets that a lot. He has fewer features than a prepaid phone. Could you imagine trying to give a description of him to the cops? Officer, he had 2 eyes. Back to the incidental collection. Back to the incidental collection of Trump's people. Now, that's not a big deal. We're always incidentally collecting something. It's like when you're in your apartment bathroom and you can hear through the vent that someone just got dumped by their boyfriend. And the crying, it helps pass the time after a bad meal at Taco Bell. Or it's like smelling fish being cooked down the hall. All day, this guy in 13J is broiling cod. Either that or he died. I should check on him. But the crime isn't the hearing or the smelling, it's the sharing. When the victims of the collection were unmasked and then circulated. Sure, maybe the people were easy to identify, but that's like me saying I slept with that stripper because strippers are easy. It doesn't work with the wife, unless she's the stripper. But let's face it, if these leaks were of Obama's team, the media would suffer from outrage diarrhea. You'd need a tanker full of Depends to prevent that mudslide. That's a nice image. Now, this doesn't vindicate Trump, but it does not vindicate him. He may have been wrong on Obama specifically, but generally speaking, what happened is enough smoke to maybe look like fire. And for Trump, that's a win. It's funny, even when he's losing, he ends up winning because the nuttiness of his enemies makes him right by comparison. It's like when a girl hangs around chubby friends so she appears thinner. Or back when I was single, bar hopping with horse jockeys. Suddenly I was the tall, mysterious stranger. Now, Trump appears right when surrounded by so much wrong. Besides, even if Trump makes a mistake, it's not like he's going to admit it, and nor will his loudest supporters. It reminds me of you-know-who. Yeah, if you ask President Obama what his biggest mistake was, he'd say that I was too perfect. And the media would nod in unison, puckering up like starry-eyed blowfish. Let's welcome tonight's guest, shall we? Let's do it. He's brainier than a zombie's brunch. Jonah Goldberg, National Review senior editor. This man is so sharp that balloons consider him a hate crime. Democratic strategist Chuck Rocha. She always laughs at the end of Old Yeller. National Review reporter Kat Timpf, awful person. And finally, his seesaw partners keep quitting. I wonder why. TNA wrestler Tyrus. All right. Before I get into this whole collections versus Russian collusion thing, what is with the sweater cape, Tyrus?
You don't like this? This is style, man. This is something. This is hip.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No,
in my community, it's very
it's like
hip.
a hipster threw up on your chest.
First of all, chest throw up, that means you're short. No, this is style, man. It's actually from New York. They made it for me. It's called a hoodie cape. You know, I can't wear a tie because I have neck issues because
Yes.
my neck is bigger than ties. So I have
Yes.
to change it up. I can't wear the same sweater every week.
All right. That was a hit at me. Okay, I'm going to move on now, Jonah, to some serious stories.
Okay.
Not about the mistakes he
Sweater
made.
cape!
It's the sweater cape. Jonah, what do you think about Nunes involving himself on this? People think he's covering for Trump. Other people saying he's the heroic whistleblower.
Well, I'm conflicted about this. You know, my attitude towards politicians is sort of like what lab researchers is towards lab animals.
Yes.
You don't want to get too attached, right? Because, like, it's much easier to stick a needle in test subject 47B than Fluffy.
Yes.
Right? And I know Devin Nunes. I respect Devin Nunes. He's a smart, serious, capable guy. I think he kind of messed up here.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I think he stepped out of line from the role of oversight for the Intelligence Committee, and he's trying to play a double role, and that's why he's been trying to walk this back for the last couple of days.
Interesting. What do you think, Chuck? Do you think he might have some? I mean, like, doesn't this kind of help Trump?
I think it does a little bit, but I'm still going back to, since I'm a political consultant, that means I'm also a lab rat trainer.
Yes.
That's what I do for a living, is I train small animals how to act right. And he pivoted wonderfully. Even as a Democratic consultant, I would be going, that's a good boy. Way to pivot. Way to give your base a little bit of red meat so you can keep them involved in watching alternative facts, but still keep them out there. Look, he's in a hard position, right? He's in a district that's about 70% Republican. He needs to make sure that he's feeding his base to make sure he don't get Republican opposition. And this is what you do when you're a politician, which makes it bad, which makes it our politics bad, which makes Capitol Hill broken. And it's proven over and over again.
Yes, but that's why Trump, Kat, has emerged again victorious. See, I'm trying to keep my base going.
His wheat harvest in the Ukraine will be better than ever under his 5-year plan.
Terrible.
There's a lot of things that are still being investigated. We don't know everything yet. I'm concerned about Russia. I'm concerned about privacy. I think before we know everything, the best thing to do is just to stay worried about everything.
Yes.
And some people say that makes me a pessimist, but that makes me fair and balanced.
No, it's true. And also, if you think everything is bad, if something turns out good, then you're kind of happy.
Pleasantly surprised. But also, just don't prejudge before. Assume that you got to stay worried.
Stay worried all the time. Tyrus, if Trump ends up being half right in this new reality of Trump, it's all right. Right?
Look, man, as far as homie goes, man, bro before Democrats. So I'm cool with that. He heard something. We don't know what exactly he heard, but he felt it was enough for he needed to let his president know.
Yeah.
So I understand. And the independent Democrats are going to say what they're going to say, Republicans say. So that investigation is a wash.
Right.
So he's better off looking out for number one. And
Yeah.
that's what he did. So I have no issue with that.
I think the issue is that he told the media.
Yeah, he got out there. He should have probably gone to a Buzz Lightyear or whatever the guy's name is from Toy Story.
Nobody has secret rendezvous
Sheriff.
anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Ixnay in the Batcave, you know, and then they show up and like, look, they had some stuff. There's some pictures of some girls. Cool, good looking. Thanks, appreciate it. But we got this. They just walk in the thing and, hey, guess what? And everyone's there. Like, get a secret hideout. You know?
Yeah.
Like, damn.
It's true. As a kid, I always thought by this time in my life I would have a secret hideout.
I have several.
I do. It's called my apartment.
No one will find you there
No.
until that smell.
Too late. Yeah.
And the neighbors start getting really worried. And then there's that article in the New York Post that says she kept to herself and she was eaten by her cats. You know,
One cat.
Well, there'll be more by the time this happens.
More cats are in your
You
future,
have
Kat.
8 cats written all over you.
Not
You know what this is, Jonah? Okay, it's like you're seeing the Russian story and the leak story. The Russian story is the Dems. The leak story, they're like two hobos in the street fighting over one cigarette butt, right? It's like they both cancel each other out.
You know, I think that's right. And this is the problem, is that no one wants to sort of walk and chew gum at the same time. The leaking was really, really bad.
Yeah.
And the problem is everyone thinks that all leaks are the same. What they did by leaking this NSA transcript stuff is like orders of magnitude different than your normal leaking.
Right.
People should go to jail for years because of what they did. But the problem is that the people who hate Trump hear leaking and their eyes glaze over.
Yeah.
And the people who love Trump, they hear the Russia stuff and they say that's old news.
Yes.
And so no one's talking to each other about this.
No, it's just like this. See this? Close up on this. This is what's happening. I just came up with this. You know what I love, Chuck? Yeah, I do have problems. Time Magazine, Trump said, "I must be doing something right. I'm president and you're not." Isn't that what you would be thinking if you're president?
That's what I'd be thinking every time I was about to lose an argument. Typically, I said, your mama. You know?
It's the argument that I lead with every time I walk into the DNC.
Yeah.
When I'm like, look, everything's great over here, and I know everything is wonderful, but have y'all not noticed who the president is?
Yes.
We need to change the way we're doing things, because he has not only stolen our narrative, but he steals a lot of our talking points.
Yes.
And here we go.
No, he is. He's
right.
He's the best Democrat.
And he's the president.
Yes.
If you don't believe, ask him.
Yeah, that's true. All right, coming up, Tom Cruise is dead, set against making Top Gun 2. It's a shame. I love the volleyball scene in the first one. Anyway, but first, who really is Supreme Court Justice nominee? Is it Steve Thompson? Tom Bergeron? I don't know who that is. It's a question no one's asking. They hope he falls short of the highest court. During confirmation hearings, Senate Democrats tried over and over again this week to dupe Supreme Court nominee Neil Gorsuch into talking about cases he didn't want to talk about. He refused at every turn, which is pretty standard. It was all rather boring until Republican Senator Ben Sasse got around to the questions that really matter.
My wife also sent me a text a little bit ago and said, and I'm sure she didn't expect me to read it, but how in the world is Gorsuch able to go so many hours at a time without peeing? I won't make you answer, but the SCOTUS bladder is something the whole country stands in awe of. So.
Interesting. Anyway, later, or possibly earlier, who knows? Senator Jeff Flake asked Gorsuch if he'd rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses.
My son Dallin, a teenager, said, ask him if he would rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck.
You can tell him I'm very rarely at a loss for words.
Okay, all right.
But you got me.
We did some digging into this. He doesn't have a son. The whole thing was made up. Apparently that question is a standard question during such hearings. Still, the most interesting exchange of the hearings came later between Gorsuch and the junior senator from New Kansas.
So, Neil, first question. When I say the name Greg Gutfeld, what's the first thing you think of?
I think of as fierce, rugged.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Slow down, Neil.
Independence.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else. I'm glad you said independence. Anyway, what do you think about his last book, How to Be Right?
It makes an excellent doorstop.
Damn savage, Neil. That reminds me. Did I see you arguing with the bouncer outside the club on Saturday night? They clearly weren't letting you in. Was your name not on the list, or what?
You're right. There were two lists, as I recall. And I wasn't on the first list.
Damn, that sucks. So what did the bouncer say?
And he said, Neil, you're not on the list. And I said, I'm fine. You're right. I'm not on the list. He said, you should be on the list.
Oh, nice. So you did get in. All right, cool. So who would you rather eat pancakes with? Rosie O'Donnell or Biz Marquis?
I don't see why it has to be a choice.
Yeah, but it's your job to have to make tough decisions just like this one.
That's your job.
Wait, how is that my job? Forget it. Whatever. What would you change about Red Lobster's Cheddar Bay biscuits?
I wouldn't change a thing.
You're right. That was a trick question, and you did pass. Last question. My friend Brian is a big fan of yours. He's in the back. Can you just wave to him?
Brian? There you are.
Awesome. Thanks, bud. Good luck in the club.
Oh yeah, are you going to vote yay or nay?
Yeah, the Cheddar Bay biscuits. I'm a single issue voter.
That's very good. That's
the
very
issue is Cheddar Bay.
All right, Chuck, here's my theory. These hearings, in general, they're like, you know, when you play tic-tac-toe and it always ends in a cat? You know? That's what this is. It's like if it's a liberal, the Republicans go after him. If it's a conservative, the Dems go after him. And it just ends up why have hearings? Just have the vote the moment you nominate.
Because you have a lot of people that are up there asking questions who want to be president. And so when they want to be president, they want to hire a political consultant that's brilliant like me, who will take that video and go, look how good a Democrat he is. And look how bad a Republican he is to asking these questions about ducks and if the duck's the size of a horse. Or do you see what Cat asked him? And he was waving at people. That's why, because there's a lot of egos in that room. Surprise, surprise. And there's a lot of people who want to run for president in 4 years. And so that's a lot of it. But the other thing is the good news for the Supreme Court justice, if it falls in the woods in the middle of a week when we have investigations in Russia and health care and all these things, nobody in America really knew it was even happening.
No, it just went away. It was like it was like, you know, there was a fire in the house, so the leaky bathroom nobody cared about, Jonah. You can use that metaphor whenever you want.
Oh, really? Can I? I appreciate that.
Yes.
You know, he could have just started shouting, "Get these squirrels off of me!" And it would have just gone right down the news hole. But I actually think the hearings are worth having. You know?
Yes, you do?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to do something during my day. Right?
Yeah, yes, that's sad, Jonah. Jonah, do you know that Law and Order SVU is on 6 times? You could watch that. And they do the crossover where you don't even know when it's ending, and they start a new one, and you think, my God, is that guy who's the killer is now the cop. You ever notice that? And you're sitting there, and you're like going, what is happening to me? And then you order something from Seamless and you cry.
I hate how halfway through I realize I've seen it already. Every time.
Yes, I know. But the twist always surprises me. Anyway, I lost my train of thought, Jonah.
Really? I hadn't noticed that.
You said something important. You said, okay, why is it good?
Why is what good? The hearing?
Yes. What's the point? Just nominate the guy. You know you're not going to like him. These people aren't going to like him. These people are going to like him. Save us a bunch of time. Have the vote.
Well, clearly it didn't waste any of your time. Well, right? I mean, you were watching Law and Order SVU.
No, but right?
He clearly stated he flipped back.
Yes.
I flipped back between Murder, She Wrote. It's the same thing in Murder, She Wrote. What? She's a serial killer. Nobody gets it?
Yeah.
She's always there?
Now, they're bringing it back. It's Murder, She Woke.
Yeah. It's Murder, She Baked. That's another one. And again, it has nothing to do with my homemade knitting sweater. But I've been spending a lot of time at home watching this stuff, trying to learn. And I think the sad part is, I personally, after watching the thing, I have a lot of respect for him, and I think he'll be a very good Supreme Court justice. I think it's sad that when your agenda is just to try to destroy something, learn something, ask questions, ask legitimate questions, and then at the end of it, regardless if you're a Democrat or Republican, if this guy is good for the country, then you should give him the right vote. I think we've gotten...
It is good.
Obstruction, it's just no one wins with obstruction.
I think things are looking great, though, because the fact that Schumer, people are talking about filibustering, you don't start to talk about the filibuster if things are going well for what you want.
Yeah, I still believe Gorsuch might be a robot. If you notice, there was that moment when they asked him a question, and he said, I was out eating a sandwich. That's something a robot would say. But it's like, yes, I do eat food just like you humans. I had a sandwich, and he made this movement, and it's like, no, we know what you are.
He never pees.
He never pees,
yes.
And he eats sandwiches.
And I believe he was plugged into the desk.
Yes, and his humor, he's got that dad humor where the jokes don't land. Then the dad hair. He is Tom Bergeron. Coming up, a story so thrilling, you'll buy a ticket to ride it. That's right. Should President Trump get a pet? Better question, can I volunteer? Will he be fine without a canine? The Washington Post pointed out this week that President Trump may be the first president in 500 years to not have a dog or any pet in the White House, if you don't count Eric. No, I kid. Anyway, the paper also noted, I love Eric. The paper also noted some past leaders who benefited from having a dog because dogs generate good press and they bridge political division. Said a local dog, that's a terrible reason to get a dog. It was weird because the dog talked. Sure, Nixon telling that story about checkers helped him out of political hot water, and Bill Clinton walking with Buddy during the Lewinsky scandal made you feel a little sympathy for the guy, although the dog was nervous. And then, of course, there was President Obama walking his prized Joe Biden. Love Joe, love Joe. But these are different times, and Trump's a different president. I'm thinking Trump should get like a ferocious tiger. It would come in handy. Last week, you know, really, you're voting no on health care? Meet Snuggles. I'm just kidding. My tiger's name is Bruce. I like it when pets have human names. Snuggles, however, is the name of his boa constrictor. Nothing says keep your distance like a pet that can squeeze the life out of you. All right, Jonah.
Yes.
You have a dog. I know about it because that's all you tweet about.
Yeah.
Frankly, it's annoying.
Yeah.
Should Trump have a pet? Would it make him more likable?
Well, he's a crazy germaphobe, right? I mean, he admits it.
He doesn't like germs.
He does not like germs. He does not like mess.
And dogs are germ buckets.
They are germ buckets. I'm wildly pro-dog. I would easily give your life for my dog.
Yes.
And, but I think dogs are, I think having a pet would be a good thing. But he can't, you're right, he can't get, like, a silly dog, right? That would be a bad look for him. He's such an alpha male type.
I think a tiny, like a little honey glider would be something.
I'm thinking two different things. One, give him some advice of something he shouldn't get, which is the world's cutest bulldog, my dog Apache, who just slobbers, and there's hair everywhere. And sometimes to combine the two, he shakes his slobber all over everybody around him. Donald Trump, you probably don't want a big old bulldog. You know, they're the best dogs, and hide Apache at home. Right, they fart in all the time.
Yeah, they're just
So that's the good thing about bulldogs, because you can be sitting on the couch like, it wasn't me, it was Apache.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, talk about smoke signals.
But I'm waiting for the time when Donald Trump just walks out and these golden doors open at the White House, and he walks out with two of those big white tigers from the Vegas show, right? Remember the ones who ate the guy?
Yeah, those are dangerous.
That would be his kind of pet.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, no, Tyrus?
No, that's not classy enough for Donald. Donald needs sharks with freaking laser beams on their head. He needs a velociraptor. No one else has one. No one else can find one. He has one. It has to be something cool or something in a moat.
Yes.
Or the hounds from Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So he could be like, oh, that's your Ryan. That's what you, okay. Release that. Go. Release the hounds.
He should hire the best scientists in the world to create a beast out of other animals.
Yes.
Like, so it is like a gargoyle where it's like a dog, but it has monkey arms and lizard legs, cat. It would be pretty cool. But I have a theory that no matter what pet he gets, the people are going to hate the pet.
It'll be the one pet that all the liberal hippies hate just because it's Trump's pet. There'll be op-eds like, I know the kitten's cute, but isn't it problematic that he just sits there and doesn't speak out about Trump's sexism and xenophobia at all? You know? I feel like the one pet PETA would be like, you can eat it. You know, it's Trump.
Or the pet had Russian ties. You know, the tiger, of course, was Russian. We all knew that. You know, so
but if he really wants to send the signal that he wants to intimidate people, what he could also do is like get Mike Pence to dress up. Ooh, like a My Little Pony or something like that, you know?
Yes, like a plushie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was into that for a while.
Yeah. I've seen the videos.
Yeah, I know. Well, I didn't. It's not like I hid the videos, Jonah.
Matter of fact, it's right there on the desk.
You know, I kind of admire the fact that he's ignoring convention. It's like, imagine somebody telling him, you know, Donald, I think you should get a pet. And he will just instinctively go, why? Because you think I should get a pet? You know, it's like, you know, you should get a Shih Tzu, you know, half poodle, half Shih Tzu. He'd say, pet or no pet, I don't give a Shih Tzu. Yeah. And then there would be no, so you can't bleep that.
No, it's a dog.
It's not like bleep that. It's like we couldn't see that coming either.
I know. I said the whole segment was built around a really bad joke.
Shih Tzus are beautiful bastards. They really are amazing little bastards.
Yes. I would think it'd be great if he had like a beluga whale. But then he'd have to clear out the entire area for like a water park, a big water park.
But it would create jobs.
It would create jobs.
To build the beluga tank.
Yes.
And to hunt the rest so they're all extinct, so he has the only one.
Yeah, there you go. All right, up next, the latest on the terror attack in London. More after this. So on Wednesday, a terror strike hit London, leaving at least 4 dead, including a police officer. The fiend, who was shot and killed by police on the scene, has now been identified as 52-year-old Khalid Massoud, obviously a Buddhist. Massoud was known by authorities for his lengthy crime sheet, although there was no police intel on him planning an attack. He used an SUV to plow down pedestrians on the Westminster Bridge near Parliament, killing 3 and injuring at least 30 people. Then he proceeded to the grounds of Parliament, where he fatally stabbed veteran police officer Keith Palmer. ISIS claimed responsibility, saying Massoud was, quote, an Islamic State soldier who carried out the operation in response to calls to target citizens of the coalition. Translation, he was a loser. This is a, you know, I'm trying to find an upside to this, Chuck, and I know, but there is something about the downsizing of terror. Because it's like, if this is what if the weapon right now is a car, right, at least it's not a plane. And maybe this is just temporary until they figure out what's worse. But the fact is, now they're kind of like, they're forced to find other ways to do things. And the ways to do things are not as horrifying as 9/11. And I'm just trying to think, maybe that's progress, as horrible as it is. Does that make sense?
I think you're right. And I also think that what we have to be vigilant about is that we wake up every morning, we're having our coffee, we're fixing our kids to go to school, if that's what our thing is, and there's a story on TV. And it may not be in our country, it could be in another country.
Yeah.
I just don't want us to ever get numb to it. We should feel the pain that England feels, because it could have been us, right? Democrats or Republicans, our first job is to secure our country, make sure that we keep our people safe. And I think that because of what you're saying, they've become smaller. I think that what we were doing is working to make them have to use a car, but we still have to be as vigilant, not saying that you're saying we don't have to be.
No, you're right.
And I think that it's something very important that we should take it as serious as whether they were flying an airplane, and say that what we're doing is working, but always be vigilant, because I think that we do get numb because it's a natural human element. As a political consultant, trying to figure out people's minds and what they're thinking about, you want to keep that on the forefront of what we're thinking.
No, it's true. In fact, I mean, it's the intent to kill is still the same. If that car was a plane, they'd wish it was a plane. But for now, they have cars. I'm worried, too, Jonah, about, like, we had this ban of electronic devices that kind of like was blown out of the news. And that, the scary part of that is that the devices are now getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So the car thing, I'm saying, maybe that means terror is waning. But then I look at this and I go, no, their measures are shrinking, which means it could be worse.
Yeah, look, there's actually, I mean, I know this is not the craziest, funniest topic, but there's actually a lot of intelligence that says that Al-Qaeda and its al-Nusra, not al-Nusra Front, but the Khorasan group are working on all sorts of new bomb techniques that can get past security.
Yeah.
And this idea that this was just sort of a bigoted attempt to keep Muslims from carrying their laptops on planes from these countries is kind of nonsense.
Right.
I mean, it may not be the right policy, it may be the right policy, but there is actual intelligence that says that these guys are trying to come up with new, scary stuff.
There was a guy that got his ass blown up because he had inserted like an explosive suppository. This happened a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I thought you were going back to that thing about the Taco Bell meal smelling the cod, but anyway.
It feels that way sometimes. Tell me about it. Ring of Fire. Tyrus, I look at the vigils, like when you see people, and I know that it's meaningful, but I always feel like sometimes when these people are lighting candles and making heart hand symbols, that's where it ends. Like the sentiment, they stop with the sentiment is enough, but they don't want to act because they're worried about appearing Islamophobic. So do the vigil, but don't say what's wrong.
And to your point, real quick, just the airport thing, I thought it was funny. I read a story where certain airport companies were making fun of the idea of not being able to take your laptop and stuff on the plane. And I think it's a joke until it's their plane that's blown on sideways because the technology is getting smaller.
Yeah.
One of the things with this attack that I personally thought was really a strength of courage, when the attacks are getting smaller and they take credit for it and they hit these acts of terror. UK, you see them providing first aid to the terrorists. And a lot of people your first reaction, no, let them bleed out in the street. But then you're playing their narrative.
Yeah.
Because it's hard for them to show that video, to show the resolve and the character of the people. Yes, this man is a criminal, he's a terrorist, but this is how we do our business. This is how we take care of people. You guys aren't going to change our resolve. So for that, I commend them. And you're right, lighting a candle, and then it stops there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, where are the Muslim groups coming out that are condemning this stuff?
Yeah.
You know, to me, that's, and then you're putting bans on us and Muslim this, and as a minority, if it was a brother who came out and did that, and yelled some black group responsibility, I would be the first one out and be like, the hell with that dude. Those guys are wrong.
Yeah, but in terms of the ban, I mean, this was a guy that came from within. A ban wouldn't have done any good in this situation. In this country, that's usually what happens too. There's never been a lethal attack by a jihadist in this country by someone who wasn't supposed to be here, someone who wasn't a citizen or legal resident. And it's terrifying because it's, what do you do? I don't know, great question, but just to say, you know, this is a reasoning for the ban, that just doesn't make sense.
No, but I'm not supporting I'm not saying the ban, I'm saying in the sense of like groups coming up, because you're right, you're 100% right, Kat. Most of the attacks, the big attacks in this country, looking at, I think 4 or 5 were done by Muslims, 17
9/11,
like
there's never been a lethal
angry white American males. I mean, so most of the attacks that come are coming from within.
Yeah.
But when these things happen, he wants to claim, or he is claimed by ISIS, the groups within need to come out and say, no, it's not okay, because then that's what spreads the fear, because no one in the other Muslim groups who aren't this way aren't coming out and saying, that's wrong, we condemn them. We're lighting candles for them.
Yeah.
We're saying, no, we're going to help be vigilant. We're going to watch our neighborhoods when we see guys, we speak the language, when we hear different things, we're going to report. We're not hearing that stuff.
Yeah, or maybe they're doing it and they can't say they're doing it because of what would happen to them from, Muslims kill Muslims. They're the #1 victims of their,
And when I said never, I meant since 9/11. I just want to say that so people don't tweet at me that I think I'm an idiot.
All right.
Thank you.
We get enough of that, Kat.
Yeah, I do.
All right. Coming up, a story so unbelievable you might mistake it for the moon landing. Didn't happen. But first, while President Trump's trying to keep us safe, he's being blamed for ruining spring break. Yeah, find out why. Do Muslims ache for spring break? A BuzzFeed report, I never miss them, describes the struggles of spring break for American Muslim students this year. And it's all, of course, Donald Trump's fault. Apparently, the annual trip to Mexico's beaches has many of them worried about being detained in the airport or being asked personal questions. So they're opting not to go at all. But as Hannah Allam writes, quote, one school of thought is to push back and travel anyway. With Muslims turning their Caribbean cruises or honeymoons in Paris into small acts of defiance. That's a great idea. That'll show the president who's boss. Especially when you consider that, according to the U.S. Department of State, about 41% of Americans have passports. That means 59% of Americans, for them, international travel isn't a possibility at all. But I suppose it'll be very difficult for those Muslim students when their friends send home videos like these. He truly is the real winner in that picture. Gee whiz, Jonah. Do you feel bad that spring break, Donald Trump is ruining spring break?
Well, first of all, I thought it was great that you had the Neil Gorsuch after party. Yeah, look, I've only been to Israel once, even though everyone seems to think I'm on, at least all my people who email me in all caps think I'm being paid by the Mossad, but because I have the Jewiest name short of Shlomo Abramowitz. But anyway, if you go to Israel, every single person gets asked 10, 15 minutes of personal questions, right? And so the upshot of this is a lot like some of the profiling controversies. The logical upshot of this position is that because people of Muslim background or Muslim name are being asked personal questions, the only way to make this fair is if we ask everybody these kinds of questions. We scrutinize everybody, and that is to say that we shouldn't prioritize anything, that we shouldn't use reason about anything. And if it means a bunch of rich kids who happen to be Muslim from Bryn Mawr have a harder time going to Cabo, my violin is busy for other problems.
Yes. Chuck, could this be Donald Trump's greatest achievement? He might help end spring break. There's nothing good comes from spring break. Muslims should be thanking him. Muslim parents should be saying, thank God my kids can't go to Mexico and end up passed out in their own puke.
Where there's real incidental collection.
Yes, yes. Tell me about it.
I think you're right, and I think that there's a lot of Muslim parents out there that probably feel that exact same way. Now, if you're a large, bald-headed brown man who normally don't wear a suit, and you show up at the airport, you stick out anyway, and normally,
Until they hear you
listen
talk.
to me, if I don't say a word, they're like, sir, you're going to come over here. There's a special room that they take you, and they're like, you know you're in trouble when they take you in the special room, because nobody can see in the special room. And I'm like, no. I want to stay out here in public where everybody can witness this. Yeah. And y'all can quit profiling me. Listen, I sound like an old white man when I talk. Stop profiling me. Anyway, there's a serious issue to be made.
Yeah.
Look, I think that there's always going to be a certain amount of discrimination. There's always going to be a certain amount of things that are going to happen, and we should not be judging all Muslims by the acts of a few crazy Muslims.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I don't think that should be across any kind of a stereotypical way.
But what about this? Can we judge all Muslim students by the craziness of all students?
Yes.
Because I hate I hate the idea, Kat, of spring break, of like, it's like, oh, throw every single common sense molecule in your body to the wind, have sex with horrible people. I'm not speaking from experience. But how about this? At least Donald Trump is bringing spring break back to the United States.
Yeah,
instead of going to Mexico, the jobs are coming here. I got applause.
Yeah, a spring break travel ban actually would be an interesting one. All these horrible people. If you're a spring break for me, I went to Florida with my friend Katie's family, and then we ended up getting into a huge fight over a CD. Okay, I didn't get a passport until like a year ago, so I don't feel bad that you can't go on your Cancun Senior Frogs vacation and guzzle tequila and post videos of yourself twerking on the phone that your parents also bought for you. Yes. Like, stop it. All based on irrational fears.
Look,
They can go.
Right.
Yeah.
Where was the Senior Frogs travel ban? And it's not even in effect right now. You can go to Syria and come back, technically, if you want to do a little vacay over there.
Yeah.
It's completely unfounded, and it makes me a little mad.
You know, I can tell. You know, Tyrus, I stopped going to spring break after a sand injury.
Right.
Thoughts?
That you stopped.
Yes.
Okay.
It took many hours to get that stuff out.
First of all, welcome to the club. Everywhere I go, even if I'm not in my fabulous sweater cape.
Yes.
Which I guess if I threw over the hood and grew my beard an extra inch, could look at all the different ways.
That's true.
Certain places I like to go. Beverly Hills.
Yep.
Pretty good chance wherever I go, gonna get stopped.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. You get profiled. It's part of the game. Welcome to being a minority in America, bro. It's gonna happen. And sometimes if you're a crazy redneck looking dude, you're gonna get profiled too in certain neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So it's
Tell
just
me
part of it. It's part, like showing up someplace without a tie. Look at that guy.
Yeah.
They're profiling me, but for the rest of us, I go to the airport. They see me every week. Same thing.
It's weird. I only get profiled in the public library. And for good reason.
And that's way worse.
Yes. There's no reason why I would be in the public library, and I know that. Anyway, final thoughts next. If you leave now, you'll never learn how I successfully escaped from Alcatraz. True. We're running out of time, so.
What you've wanted to say all show, but haven't had the chance to say, so here's your chance to say it. Right now.
Jonah.
I'll be at the James Madison Institute on Tuesday, March 28th, giving a speech, and cheer up, the worst is yet to come.
Oh, excellent. What about you, Chuck?
Congratulations to my staff, the American Association of Political Consultants. We call it the Oscars for ugly people. Gave out 4 awards to my crew this week at the award show in California. Congratulations to my great crew.
Excellent. You know, it's great at award shows or at political analysts. They make comments about Hollywood.
Oh.
That's a great joke. Tyrus?
My condolences to Mr. Jim Ross, who the tragic passing of his wife. She was always a wonderful lady, was always very sweet to me. So my heart goes out to you, Mr. Ross.
All right, very nice. Kat?
I miss Dunkaroos.
Do you?
Yeah, a lot.
Oh, that's good for you. I'm glad. All right. Something worrying me. All right. Thanks to Jonah Goldberg, Chuck Rocha, Catherine, Tyrus, studio audience. I'm Greg Gutfeld. I love you, America. Wait.
So, Director Comey, Guy Fieri is the face of the Food Network. Do you think that a female who looks like Guy Fieri could be the face of anything?
If I'm worried we're going to a place I don't want to go, which is commenting on any particular person.
But don't you think that feminism is an important thing to talk about?
I believe it is. I'm not an expert.
Of course not. You're a man. But wouldn't a good place to start be to think about how society might react to a girl Fieri?
Not necessarily, but it's possible.
All right, great. So do you think that Rachel Ray would be more or less popular if she started drawing a goatee on her face to look more like Guy Fieri?
That's the hypothetical I really want to avoid answering, but the answer is it would depend, really. It would depend upon a whole lot of circumstances.
All right, like if the goatee was really dope or maybe a full beard, then you would consider her?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Glad I could open your mind a bit. Are there other issues that you think are more important to talk about?
Yes, many others.
All right, fine. Do you think that putting ketchup on a steak is a grave insult to the cow that should be punishable by life in prison?
Yes, it's a serious crime, and it should be. The reasons you said.
Tough on crime. Nice.